What's up? Let's talk about the action from the Twins minor league system on Thursday. It was a night of a lot of offense, but first some news and notes. Walker Jenkins' rehab assignment got moved up to over from the FCL, the Florida Complex League, which is in Fort Myers, to the Fort Myers Mighty Muscles. He played center field for 7 innings and went 0 for 2 with a couple walks and scored a run. I think in the box score they credited him with an assist in the outfield, but it wasn't actually him. It was the left fielder. But just good to see him out there and playing. Danny Coulomb will pitch in a rehab game tomorrow for the Saints, so that's huge. And I can't imagine he's the type of guy that needs a ton of work before returning to the Twins. So expect him to be back, if all goes well. Expect him to be back with the Twins pretty quick here, which is huge because he's the main lefty. Travis Adams is also expected to join the Twins for his MLB debut at some point. He's joining the Twins tomorrow. Guy they added, kind of a surprise add, I guess, to the 40-man roster. Not a lock, we'll put it that way. Not a shock that they added him, but not a lock that they were going to add him. And he's pitched well for the Saints in like a long relief role. And a guy who had coming off a really nice 2024 after running into some trouble earlier in his career, which is something good to call out because we're going to talk about a guy who that's the case with in just a second. But lots of runs other than with Fort Myers. They only scored 1. Saints scored 8 runs and lost. Both the Wind Surge and Kernels scored double digits and won tonight. Tanner Schobel, and I think this was his second game with the Saints, recently promoted Tanner Schobel, who I was kind of referring to him as a guy who had struggled in his career, had a tough year last year, and is bouncing back much like Travis Adams did last year. So maybe that's the bounce-back guy. First AAA homer, all the guys are giving him high fives, and then Mickey Gasper hits him with a helmet full of seeds. Hopefully they were fresh seeds and not used seeds. I don't know. But, they didn't give him the silent treatment, but it wasn't completely free of like your rookie hazing thing. And then speaking of guys new to levels, Jay Thomason in his first start for Cedar Rapids homers, an opposite field blast on a 97-mile-per-hour fastball out of the stadium. This guy has just been remarkable. His first home run and his first start for Cedar Rapids. Look at this leg kick again. I just had to show that was not paused. That was not delayed. That was not slowed down. And hey, he caught up to a 97-mile-per-hour fastball. So I really enjoy him. I think I've said that 10 times by now this year, but it's a really weird, quirky hitting style, but it's fun, and he's just been fun to watch. And anybody who's that productive is going to be fun. Speaking of production, Aaron Sabato. What a monster game. 10 total bases for him today. This is some minor league camera work here, but he gets a double, an RBI double in the top of the first. In the top of the 4th inning, he hits a 2-run home run. Aaron Sabato became the all-time Wind Surge home run leader today with a 2-homer game. He drove in Kalai Rosario 3 times in this game. So a 2-homer game with a double for Aaron Sabato. I said that he's the next guy. Now that Schobel's up, I said he's the next guy that should be promoted on my podcast up to AAA. And I could feel the snickering and scoffing at that take. But, I should call out, though, it's not like I think Aaron Sabato's a prospect again. I didn't even include him in my updated top 50. But he's worth paying attention to again. I'll say that much. Again, 3 for 5 with a double and 2 home runs. He's got 7 homers on the year. He's played over 200 AA games. It's kind of my main thing is hey, bring this guy up to AAA. Stick him at first base there now that Mike Ford is not around. You got some space, so we'll see what happens there. Carson McCusker hit another home run. There were so many notes I couldn't fit him down on the bottom like I usually do. Raindone Cone had a triple and a home run in that one. But moving on to the notes, again, so many I couldn't fit at the bottom. Carson McCusker's home run was projected, we'll say, at 463 feet and 115.2 miles per hour. Wow. Jorel Ortega was 2 for 5 with a home run for Wichita. Jose Salas, speaking of another guy who was promoted recently, along with Schobel and Thomason. Jose Salas was 2 for 3 with a double in his AA debut for Wichita. You see there, Jay Thomason, in addition to that home run, he also had a double and a walk. And Nate Baez had a 3-hit night. Kalen Culpepper had a 2-hit game with 2 stolen bases, so he continues to be hot. Very impressive. Unfortunately, the pitching side, not as impressive. If Marco Raya is not the most disappointing starting pitcher this year, it might be Ty Langenberg, at least for me. I was really excited about Ty Langenberg. I loved how he pitched last year, and I thought he was pretty underrated coming into this season, and it's not gone well. Not gone well at all. And Marco Raya gave up 7 earned runs in 3 1/3 innings. He needed 76 pitches to get that far. But it's not like there's nothing here. 7 strikeouts, and he had 19 swinging strikes, which was the most of anybody in AAA, at least at the time of recording here. So, it's hard to know what they should do with Marco Raya, but him being on the 40-man roster kind of accelerates his timeline, and I think it's only a matter of time before they got to kind of call it what it is and maybe put him in the Travis Adams role. Maybe not just make him a one-inning reliever, but figure something else out, because it's getting hard to believe that Marco Raya is going to be a starting pitcher. But still, again, there is plenty of reason to believe in that arm. Very impressive. Jacob Kisting is a guy I want to look at. He retired all 5 men he faced and 3 on strikeouts. He's pitching pretty well for the Mighty Muscles, who were the Oat Milkers tonight. Maybe I'll go on a rant about that sometime, but not tonight. So again, this is Jacob Kisting throwing for Fort Myers. I don't talk a lot about relievers, but I feel like he's kind of in a building up year this year. As a guy who was a recent draftee, I think they got to build up some innings and some shorter outings, and then maybe next year he might be a starter again. And just he's looking good. He's throwing pretty hard, especially for low A, and has a pretty diverse pitch mix compared to what you usually see from relievers in that level. So Jacob Kisting, kind of a name just to put that in the back of your mind there. So thanks for checking this one out. Again, I'm gonna repeat myself a bunch. I'm sorry for all you who have been watching these nightly, but if you haven't been watching them nightly and got this far, only doing minor leagues on the system recaps specifically from here forward. Going to be discussing some Twins stuff outside of that in separate videos, but system recaps will be minor league only. So, and I don't think anybody's going to be too bent out of shape about that today, that we're not going to go rehash the Twins game. Look it up if you haven't seen, but better days ahead in this series they have against Toronto at home. Twins finally coming home after that big, long 10-game, I think 11-day road trip. So anyway, thanks for watching. We'll talk again tomorrow.